You don't need another system. You don't need another seminar. You don't even need another book. What you need is a bedtime. I learned that lesson the hard way, and I wish I had known it at 20. Because when I was young, I thought life was complicated. I thought success was hidden behind some secret formula, and I spent years chasing courses, coaches, and complicated methods. But at 40, after the noise, after the wins and losses, I discovered the brutal truth. 8 hours of sleep and a daily walk outside solve more problems than most gurus ever will. It sounds too simple. Right, that's why most people ignore it. They think, if it feels hard, it must be complex. But many things in life are not complicated. They are simply difficult because we don't want to face them. Breaking up with someone, saying no, admitting you were wrong. These are not complex acts, but they are emotionally heavy, and because they are heavy, we create complexity to hide from them. I remember in my 20s, I had an entire shelf of productivity books. I had planners, apps, color-coded schedules, but I was exhausted. I stayed up past midnight. I woke up tired, and I kept asking myself why I wasn't getting further ahead. The truth was obvious, but I didn't want to face it. I didn't need another system. I needed to go to bed on time. And that's the thing about the truths I learned at 40. They are not glamorous. They won't get you applause at parties, but they will give you back your life. Let me tell you about a man I know. His name is David. At 20, he worked 2 jobs. He thought sleep was weakness. He thought coffee was fuel. And he thought the busier he looked, the more successful he would become. By 40, David was burned out. He had a career, a family, a house, but he also had a body falling apart and a mind that never stopped racing. Doctors gave him pills. Therapists gave him advice. But nothing worked. Then one evening, after a long day, he turned off his phone, closed his laptop, and went to bed at 9. The next morning, he woke up clear for the first time in years. Not cured, not transformed, just rested. That was the beginning of his change. Not a seminar, not a 10-step system, just sleep. And then came the walks. An hour each day. No headphones, no phone, just movement and air. At first, it felt boring. Then it became medicine. And within months, he felt more alive than in the decade before. The brutal truth. Sometimes the answer to your suffering is not a secret. It is simple, and it has been in front of you all along. We live in a culture that worships complexity. We are told that if we just find the right method, the right app, the right coach, everything will fall into place. But ask yourself this: if the basics are broken, does complexity ever help? It doesn't. And that's the truth. Nobody wants to sell you. Because there is no money in telling you to go to bed early. There is no profit in telling you to walk every day. But there is freedom in it. And if you are willing to accept that freedom, your life can change in ways no system will ever match. Here is another truth. If you don't choose your priorities, the world will choose them for you. Think of your mind as a gumball machine. If you don't fill it with your own values, the world will shove its own into the empty spaces. Social media, advertisements, endless noise telling you what matters. And if you're not careful, you'll spend 20 years chasing approval, chasing likes, chasing applause, until one day you wake up at 40 and realize you never lived for yourself. I know, because I've been there. And I know men like David who lived that story too. He became a lawyer not because he loved the law, but because everyone told him it was a good career. He worked 80 hours a week, paid the bills, raised his kids, and one day realized he had never once asked himself what he actually wanted. That's what happens when you don't choose. The world chooses for you. And here's the harshest part. Nobody cares as much about your life as you do. Nobody lies awake at night, worrying if you are living your truth. They care about themselves. So, if you give them the power, they will gladly fill your life with their values. And you'll be left wondering why you feel empty, even when everything looks good on paper. I wish I had known that at 20. I wish I had been brave enough to say no earlier, but I didn't. I said yes to everything. Yes to jobs I didn't want. Yes to people I didn't respect. Yes to expectations that crushed me. And by 40, I finally saw the cost. That's why the first truth is simple. Get your basics right. Sleep. Walk. Say no. Because if you don't, no system, no guru, no secret will save you. When you are young, it feels natural to live by someone else's map. Parents, teachers, friends, even strangers on the internet, they all tell you what matters. Get the degree, climb the ladder, buy the house, make everyone proud. But there's a hidden cost. When you let the world decide your priorities, you slowly forget to ask the simplest question. What do I care about? By 40, I had lived through that mistake. I had chased things that looked good, but never felt right. I had worked late hours to prove my worth to people who weren't even watching. And one morning, staring at myself in the mirror, I realized something terrifying. I had built a life for everyone but me. That's when it hit me. Freedom is not found in more choices. Freedom is found in owning the few choices that truly belong to you. Let me explain it this way. Imagine again that your life is a gumball machine. Inside are all the things you care about. Family, health, peace. But if there are empty spaces, the world will rush to fill them. Suddenly, your machine is packed with other people's values, status, applause, trends, comparisons. You think they are yours because you've carried them for so long. But they're not. They were handed to you, pushed into you, sold to you. And here's the brutal truth. If you don't develop the strength to be disliked, you'll never discover which values are truly yours. I saw this lesson most clearly in the story of Muhammad Ali. In 1967, he was the heavyweight champion of the world. He had everything: fame, wealth, the kind of respect most men dream of. Then came the Vietnam War. The government told him to fight. The crowd told him to obey. The world told him to do his duty. But Ali said no. He refused to step into a war he did not believe in. And in that moment, he lost almost everything. They stripped him of his title. They banned him from boxing. He was called a traitor, a coward, a disgrace. He even spent time in jail. For most men, that would have been the end. For Ali, it was the beginning. Because values are not proven by what you chase. They are proven by what you are willing to give up. That lesson shook me. At 20, I thought my values were shown by my ambition, by how much I wanted something. But at 40, I learned the opposite. Your values are tested in the fire of loss, not in the glow of gain. Think about it. If you say you value honesty, but you lie to protect yourself, do you really value honesty? If you say you value family, but you sacrifice them for approval at work, do you really value family? If you say you value peace, but you cling to drama, is peace truly your value? Ali was hated, punished, humiliated, but he never betrayed what he believed in, and history, in time, gave him back more than titles. It gave him honor. I wish I had understood that sooner, because for years, I thought being liked was proof I was doing something right. I thought if people praised me, I was living well. But the truth is harsher. If nobody dislikes you, it probably means you've never stood for anything real. David, the man I told you about earlier, learned this too. In his 30s, he accepted every invitation, agreed to every project, smiled through every demand. People liked him, but deep down, he was drowning. At 45, he finally said no. No to a promotion that would have stolen his health. No to friends who only called when they needed something. No to a marriage that had turned into silence. And you know what happened? Some people walked away. But for the first time in his life, he didn't feel smaller. He felt stronger, because values are not what you write down on paper. They are the boundaries you hold when the world pushes back. Here's another truth. Most people are terrified of conflict, They hate being disliked. So they go along. They smile. They nod. They say yes when their soul is screaming no. And years later, they wonder why they feel empty. If that's you, start small. Say no to an event you don't want to attend. Say no to a favor that drains you. Say no when your body is telling you to rest. It will feel scary. But here's the secret: nobody cares as much as you think they do. They move on. And suddenly you realize you had more freedom than you ever allowed yourself. The ability to be disliked is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the quiet courage to stand on your own. Even when the world demands you bend. Ali had it. Lincoln had it. And every man who has lived with integrity had to find it too. So if you want to know who you really are, don't look at what you pursue. Look at what you are willing to lose. That is where your true values live. At 40, I learned this brutal truth: the man who avoids conflict avoids himself. And the man who avoids himself cannot live free. You cannot be everything to everyone. And you shouldn't try, because the moment you finally choose what matters, you will also choose who leaves. And that is not failure. That is freedom. Fear is strange. It disguises itself as logic. It whispers, "Don't risk this. You'll lose everything." And because the voice sounds so familiar, we believe it. But here's the truth. Fear and confidence are made of the same thing. They are both stories about the future. They are both invented. Think about it. You have a big presentation tomorrow. One story says, you'll stumble. You'll embarrass yourself. People will laugh. Another story says, you'll rise. You'll surprise yourself. You'll deliver value. Both stories are fiction. Neither has happened. But the story you choose will shape the life you live. At 20, I didn't know this. I thought fear was reality. I thought confidence was a gift other men were born with. At 40, I finally saw the truth. They are both choices. Abraham Lincoln knew fear. He battled depression so deep he sometimes couldn't get out of bed. He wrote in his journal that he believed he would be remembered as the president who destroyed America. And yet, he led through the darkest time in the nation's history. He didn't escape fear. He acted in spite of it. That's the difference between men who move forward and men who stay stuck. Not the absence of doubt, but the decision to move anyway. David, my friend, once told me something after his divorce. He said, "I thought failure was the end, but failure just gave me a stronger place to begin again." He had lost his house, half his savings, nights of sleep. But when the dust settled, he realized he wasn't broken. He was sharper, calmer, more dangerous in the best way. Because failure doesn't leave you where you started. It leaves you a little higher, a little wiser, a little stronger. Here's the brutal truth most people never accept. Success is not the absence of failure. It is the accumulation of failures you were willing to endure. Every man you admire has scars. Every strong man you know has doubted himself, has feared, has fallen. The only difference is, he kept moving. At 20, I thought success meant getting rid of my insecurities. At 40, I know better. Success means you carry them into battle, and you keep walking anyway. This is why I say growth is not about ending your struggles. It is about upgrading them. Happiness is not the lack of problems. It is having better problems. Discipline is not the lack of weakness. It is building habits stronger than your weakness. Success is not avoiding failure. It is choosing failures worth enduring. Life will never stop being heavy, but the weight can become worth carrying. Let me bring this home. When you are young, you think life is about winning. When you are older, you realize life is about enduring. Enduring with purpose. Enduring with clarity. Enduring with values that are yours and no one else's. At 20, I chased noise. At 40, I finally found silence. Not the silence of emptiness, the silence of peace. And that silence taught me everything. It taught me that the simple things, sleep, movement, saying no, are the foundations of a life well lived. It taught me that values are not written in words, but proven in what you're willing to lose. It taught me that fear never leaves, But courage grows when you act despite it. And it taught me that failure is not the end, but the beginning of wisdom. So here is the resolution I leave with you. You cannot eliminate fear, but you can choose which story it tells you. You cannot eliminate failure, but you can choose which failures are worth the scars. You cannot eliminate struggle, but you can choose better struggles, better problems, better sacrifices, because at the end of the day, life is not about finding comfort. It is about finding meaning. And meaning is found in the things you refuse to compromise, the things you choose to carry, the things you are willing to endure. If you are over 45 and listening now, you already know life does not get easier, but it can get clearer. And clarity is worth more than comfort. Clarity is what allows you to sit alone in your own silence and feel at peace instead of empty. So don't waste the next 20 years chasing noise. Don't waste them chasing systems and secrets. Go to bed, take a walk, say no, and choose values that belong to you, not the world. Because one day, when you look back, you will see what I see now, that life is not about escaping fear or erasing failure. It is about living with both and becoming the man who is no longer defined by them. That is the brutal truth I wish I had known at 20, the truth I only earned at 40, and maybe, if you take it to heart, you won't waste as much time as I did.